Welcome into episode 99 of JD's Empire Sports Talk. A little bit of a different approach we're going to go with this week just because episode 100, a big accomplishment for us is going to be tomorrow night. So when you guys see this show, it'll be in a little bit, but because we're doing it a little different, like I was saying, I'll explain. But episode 100 tomorrow night will be Knicks versus Cavs, which is normally, Tuesday nights is normally our normal, show that we just do all sports, talk about everything, and then we just recap things that happened throughout the week. But we're going to do it a little differently. Episode 99, which is right now, this will be more of just me, a little bit more of a, quicker run through. Not going to talk about, every single thing that's happened in sports, but more of the most important things. We'll do it a nice and quick episode, and then we'll get that out for you guys to, go and watch before tomorrow so everyone can see, the reactions of U.S. winning gold, which is great. The Knicks and all my teams, which we'll start with in a little bit, but we'll do NBA, NHL, NFL, college basketball. So, MLB, the only thing with MLB we know is that spring training has started. So pretty much nothing now. It's just going to be guys playing spring training games and all that stuff. So it's going to pretty much go on, for a month or so. But WBC will be starting not this week, next week. So that's something we can look forward to. That'll be going on for about 2 weeks or so. So we have something to look forward to. But no baseball talk this week. But let's start with how you doing. So we're going to start with the Knicks just to get a little bit of a preview as we go into tomorrow. We're going to have some guests. The normal guests we have, it's going to be our A crew. We're going to have Crazy Dom, CT, most likely CT. Corey will be on. Biggie will be popping in and out. Jet Specialist Ryan should be on at some point in the second half. So we're going to have our squad for tomorrow night, which is going to be really, really fun to celebrate a great accomplishment, episode 100, which I cannot believe that. As you go through, you're like, okay, how many episodes do we have? Because you got to keep writing them in every time. And I'm like, damn, episode 100 is coming up. We got to do something a little differently. So why not? Knicks versus Cavs is going to be a great game. Knicks are your number 3 seed right now. Cavs are your number 4 seed. We know we did a Knicks versus Cavs stream the opening night, and it seems like what we talked about that night. Yeah, the guys on the different teams now, so the rosters have definitely changed. But the main objective we were getting at was both of these teams are very good, and they're going to be good this year. We didn't probably think they would be third and fourth, more like first and second, but they are very good. And Boston and Detroit can be tracked down at some point if one of them goes on a losing streak. More so Boston. The Celtics are not up that much. I believe only a game from the Knicks, so they can be tracked down. And Detroit, yeah, they're great, but we'll see them in the postseason, I guess. But more so on the Knicks here, 37-21, your number 3 seed. Looks like Karl Anthony Towns, at the end of that Rockets game, he seemed like he turned a different corner than what he's really been at this year. He turned it on, was unlocked in a huge way, and that's huge for this team. I know it can be big for him because it doesn't seem like he always wants to be there. But we'll talk to Dom about this tomorrow as well, because he's always a big on getting on Cat a little bit. Like, you have to be more aggressive, and people who've watched, they understand that. I agree. Cat has to be a guy that has to be able to get the basketball, has to call for the basketball, has to want it. Yeah, you can you can complain and say, yeah, I should be getting more of this, more of that. We have to show it, and he showed it against Houston. He went to work against them, and then last night a gritty win against the Bulls. That's a game where you probably don't have you're not even probably close to 75-80%. You're probably more so in that 60% range of feeling good, just because you played a grindy game the night before. Have to travel, don't get into Chicago until 3 or 4 in the morning. Then you can obviously sleep, but by the time you get up, it's already afternoon. We got to shoot around and all that stuff, so that you maybe not have shoot around because of that. So the routine is definitely altered. And they went out there. They didn't look the greatest, but in the fourth quarter, once again, turned it on when they had to, and they got the win. And Towns has been a big piece of what's going right for them the last 2 games. Because, out of the All-Star break, before the All-Star break, they were playing well. Out of the All-Star break, lose to Detroit again. Like, damn, I don't know about this team. Yeah, they're good, but I don't think they're great. And then they go out there the last 2 nights against the Houston team. Very good. And they beat them, and hopefully this can keep them, going in the right direction. I'm not worried about, Detroit beating us 3 times, and everyone's talking about that, because last year, same thing happened with the Celtics. They swept us in the regular season. We beat them in the postseason, and that was with Tatum. That series was over. They had that 3rd win in the bag there when Tatum got hurt. They were already up by a ton. They were not coming back in that game. So Knicks were up 3-1 when Tatum was hurt. That's how I take it. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what happens in the regular season. The postseason is different. And I think, yeah, Detroit is played hungry. They look very, very good this year, but the postseason is always a different game. So we have to just keep an eye on that. And then just ahead for the week. So Cavs tomorrow night, we'll be doing that stream. Then they have the Bucks on Friday and the Spurs Sunday afternoon. So another, prime time not really prime time, but you know what I mean, game, national game Sunday afternoon against the Spurs. So we got 3 games this week, a little bit of a lighter schedule. Not really, but for them, yeah, because it seems like we're playing so many days in a row or so close. 3 out of 4, 3 out of 4 every so often. But 37-21, feeling good. This team should be a 50-plus win team, and if not, that's not good. So I think they'll be fine with that. They'll be okay. I'm not worried about them at all. And then we got the Jets. So the Jets do have some news this week. Just wanted to make sure I had that right. Jets combine. They're going to be at the combine, obviously, and they have a lot of picks, so they better be there watching very, very, closely on these guys. And it's a huge, huge offseason that starts now because, yeah, you think it's February, season just ended for the Seahawks and the Patriots. But, these teams, this is big, especially if you're trying to turn something around. I don't think the Jets are going to be very good this year, but I got to have some hope in terms of them drafting good players, and hopefully they can be the turnaround. When Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall were drafted, they looked like they would be a solution. Still, some of them are here, so they still could be a solution, but it didn't really go the way they wanted it. But if they can build a good team here, it starts now, and especially if these guys that are in positions of head coach and GM, Glenn and Muji, if they want to, keep their jobs, that starts this week, and it's got to be evaluating the proper talent, because the guys that you're evaluating now, that's the list you're gonna go into the draft with. Yeah, I know they have their pro days, they have some other workouts, but the combine is a huge part of it, and you can't screw it up, because if you screw it up you screw up the second pick, which we've seen what's happened with that, it's gonna be a little bit different because they're not gonna take a quarterback. But if you screw up that second pick, that's gonna kill you, that's gonna burn you, so you can't afford to do that. Then you have the 16th pick, 2 picks in the second round, so they can do some trading if they really like a guy that they don't think they can get in the second round, or maybe at 16 they want it in the top 10, they can make some moves. So they better be aggressive too. Don't just sit on whatever picks you have. If you feel like you want to get someone you really think he can be a part of the change, you have to go out there and you have to do it. You can't be afraid to not make a move. You got to just be aggressive at this point, because you had 3 wins last year. It can get worse, but if it gets worse than 3 wins, these guys will not be here anymore. So you got to be able to do something with that. Then the Mets started some spring training games. I believe they played 3 now after today, 2-1. The record doesn't matter, but they're winning. They won a few games so far. Guys are getting their reps in. Some guys aren't ready just yet. I know Luis Robert, Brett Beatty, Jorge Polanco, and Francisco Alvarez are going to be taking their time a little more slowly, which is not a problem. Spring training is very long, where you're not in it in the beginning. Is not really you don't need to rush. There's some guys that have to play now, because if you're playing the WBC, you have to be ready for that. Like Soto, Vientos is going, but I don't know how much of a role he's going to have on this team, and he hasn't looked great in his plate appearances so far. Some pitchers like Clay Holmes pitch about almost 4 innings today, 3 2/3, like 45 pitches or so. So he's ramping it up a little earlier, which is, a little scary sometimes, and the guys are throwing that much that early. But hopefully he's fine, and he'll be fine. Just got to get through the Olympics, come back. We're going to need Clay Holmes this year. So that's a big thing as well. But yeah, Mets just overall starting the spring games. They got some guys to look at. Majority of the roster is pretty much set. There's not really that many spots up for grabs. I would say the bullpen is a few 2 or 3 up for grabs at the end. Some guys that are in the minors that maybe haven't got their shot yet will get a shot, or they're just going to go with the guys that aren't the greatest, but they've had their chance. They've proven they can do a little something first, and then give those minor leaguers a shot if they don't do well. The bench pieces for the Mets, it's a little bit, you kind of know who you have, but you don't know what is going to fit where. You're going to try Brett Beatty at all these different positions, banking on that working, so then they can have him as, super utility type of player. Vientos is primarily working at it first, so I think the third base experiment is over. Right field is totally up for grabs right now, so that's a starting spot that is up for grabs, and it's because you don't know. Carson Benz, as a rookie, expected to be great. You don't know if he's going to be ready for the spotlight just yet, so you don't want to rush him. And then you have 3 or 4 veterans that are vying for that spot as well. So that's a lot to take into account. But that's what the beauty of baseball and the spring training aspect of it is, because you have so much time to evaluate these things, which other sports you don't really. You got to kind of make it quickly. In baseball, you have time, injuries can happen, all those types of things. Then St. John's, so that came into the AP poll today at number 15. So, they're climbing it. Once again, they were up there in the top 10, top 15 earlier in the year before they had those, those setback losses that you look at it now. Maybe those were the ones they needed to avoid, losing that much the rest of the season, which they've been on a heater. Longest winning streak in 41 years at 13 straight, which is great. Hopefully they can keep it going. Tough week ahead. We got UConn Wednesday night, so that's a top 15 matchup because UConn's number 6, Johnny's are number 15, and then Villanova on the weekend. Villanova is always, they're there this year. They're pretty good, third place, so they're going to give St. John's a little bit of a test. I think St. John's would beat them. I think it's just UConn and St. John's at the top. I think those two teams are way above everyone else. And the Big East isn't that great anyway this year, but I think they're way ahead, compared to all the other teams. But that's why I wanted to start with how you're doing first, get that out of the way, important things to discuss there, and then we can move on now. But let's go to the NBA, where the Suns will be without Dillon Brooks for 4 to 6 weeks. So, Dillon Brooks breaks the wrist or hand/wrist type of thing that's going on for him. And that's unfortunate because the Suns, I know we're going to do the standings right now, which I want to pull up. But, Dillon Brooks has been good this year. This is a Suns team. I talked about it every week. I know Corey's a Suns fan, so we can get his input on tomorrow night when he's on, because we always talk about everything else and what's going on. But Suns are 33-25, probably losing their second or third best player. I would say second best player behind D-Book, and D-Book has been hurt as well. So this is a Suns team that's overachieving because, when they get rid of KD and Bradley Beal, you're like, okay, that didn't work. We're going to have to build around Booker again. This is probably going to be a couple-year thing, and then we'll come back and we'll try it again. And he's been great. Dillon Brooks has been part of the guys that have been playing very gritty because he'll average 20 points a game, but he's going to do much more, especially defensively. You don't really find the guy that's willing to do both, play great defense and score. You don't really get that, anymore in the NBA. But let's do the standings quick before we move on to the NHL, which is more so of the Olympics pretty much. But in the Eastern Conference, we got Detroit 42-13, Boston 37-19, Knicks 37-21. So they're a game out just because they have 2 extra losses than the Celtics do. Then the Cavs 36-22. So the Cavs have been on a heater. Their winning streak, I think it was 5 or 6, got snapped last night against the Thunder. I should say yesterday. I'm sorry. It's the same thing. Blue Jays, Raptors 34-23, 76ers 31-26, Magic 30-26, and the Heat at 31-27. So 6 to 8, extremely close. I think the Magic can actually make a little bit of a run if they can get it all together. They don't have every piece going in the right direction at the same time. It's usually like, 1 or 2 guys play well, then the rest of the team is kind of behind. But I think they can make a gunning run for maybe 5th if you can get to the Raptors. But they've been playing good ball as well. And then we got the Hawks at 28-31. That's the play-in. And then the Hornets at 27-31. So those two teams have been playing better of late, especially the Hornets. They've been really good. A couple weeks before the All-Star break and now after the All-Star break, they've been playing really well. Even when they don't win, they're playing these top teams very, very well, giving them, a tough game. And then the Bucks 24-31, Bulls 24-34. I seen them last night. They had made they said, Mike Breen said on the broadcast, they've made 7 or 8 trades, I think even more than that, since the deadline. So, these guys have never really played with each other before, and you can see they had no chemistry going on. And they just have so many guards, point guard, shooting guards. They have so many that it's just weird, the whole thing what the Bulls are trying to do there. And then the Wizards, this is the bottom 3. Wizards 16-40, Nets 15-41, and then the Pacers 15-43. So those 3 teams obviously way out of it. And then the Bucks and the Bulls, they're right there. The 3 games out are the Bulls, and the Bucks are a game and a half out from the play-in. So you never know. Maybe the Hornets or the Hawks go on a little bit of a losing skid, and one of those 2 teams can make a little bit of a run there. But that's the East. And then in the West, Thunder 44-14. So they're 6-4 in their last 10, even though they've had a ton of guys injured, especially SGA and Williams. Williams has been out as well. I know he was out in the beginning of the year, but he's hurt again. Spurs at 40-16, so they had 3 out. So, Thunder have been playing well, but the Spurs have been great. They've been outstanding lately. 40 wins from them. I knew they would be okay, but I actually thought they would have only 43, 44 wins on the entire year. And they have 40 wins right now, only 56 games into the season. Then we got the Nuggets at 36-22. They got to play better, lock in consistently, because they're very good. I've always talked highly of them. I think they're a very good team. They can beat anyone if they're healthy and locked in. Like I'm saying, that's the big thing. Being locked in, 36-22 is pretty good, but I think they can be better than that, honestly. Then the Rockets 34-21. I still think they can be what I said they would be in the beginning, a finals caliber team. They just need to really get everyone going. That's another thing with them. Watching them the other night, when they're rolling, they're rolling, and when they're not, they're not. They don't know how to really stop it, which is a little bit weird just because, Kevin Durant is a great player, So I would expect him to be, fully ready to go all the time, which he is. But to get the rest of the guys to rally, I feel like he lacks in that department a little bit. Then we had the Lakers at 34 and 22. I just still think they're going to be a first round exit. I don't see them going much further. If they do win one round, they're not getting past the second round, especially if they have to play the Thunder. Timberwolves 35 and 23. I think they have a legit chance of making a little bit of a run again. They have the last few years. Phoenix Suns 33 and 25, like I was talking about. Warriors 30 and 27. They're banged up injury wise, but they're still, just holding steady at that number 8 seed right now. Then the Trailblazers, number 9 seed, 28 and 30. They're kind of similar to the Hornets. They didn't start out well, had to deal with some things, and then they've recovered nicely. Clippers 27 and 30. They've been okay as well. Kawhi Leonard, I think he's going to will them into the postseason. I know they're the 10 seed right now, so they have to win, that extra playing game, but I actually think they can do it, especially if the Suns team is banged up even that much later into the year. Clippers can definitely beat them. Kawhi can go on a nice run, maybe get them a 7 seed or 8 seed, obviously, and then give the first round matchup a little bit of a test. They won't win, but they'll give them something. But I wouldn't count out the Clippers just yet, even though they traded everyone pretty much besides Kawhi. Then the Grizzlies 21 and 34. So in the West, it's pretty much the teams that are in right now. It's been the theme. Teams that are in is pretty much the ones that are going to be in. There's not going to really be much change. Dallas Mavericks 20 and 36. Jazz 18 and 39. And then the Pelicans at 16 and 42. They become a mess. And then the Kings 12 and 46. And they have ruled out multiple guys out for the year, still on a losing streak. And they're a mess. They're even worse than the Wizards right now. They're at that level of ineptitude. They're probably worse than that. Let's go to the NHL. So Team USA wins gold. Very, very great. Like, it was just a magical game. I'm gonna say it like that. It was just magical. Hellebuck with 40 plus saves. I believe it was like upwards towards 50. Goals from Matt Boldy and Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes, which was the winner, so they called it the golden goal, which is absolutely outstanding job by Team USA. They didn't play the greatest in that game, but it doesn't matter. I know people are coming out there saying, oh, 3-on-3 overtime, this and that, but they still won. It doesn't matter. Like, if Canada won, just like they did last year in the Four Nations, no one was saying, oh, overtime rules this, overtime rules that. No, they play the rules and you win the game, you win the game. Yeah, Team USA probably got outplayed the entire game, but when you have a great goaltender, it doesn't matter. When you come up with a clutch shot like Jack Hughes did, that doesn't matter. They were able to, overcome everything in that game, and they won. And that was the great thing, bringing home the gold for the first time, obviously, in 40 years. So that was outstanding to see. Team USA wins gold medal in a. You look at when the WBC happens, baseball, obviously. Team USA is expected to win. I know they didn't last time. They lost to Japan, but they're expected to win. When you watch basketball in the Olympics, like a couple of years ago, I believe that was 2024 in the Summer Olympics, they're expected to win. In this, they weren't expected to win. Canada was the favorite, and Team USA, took that little bit of an underdog approach, and they went out there and they won. Now, obviously, they had great players as well, but when you stack them up against Canada, Canada is the better team, but it doesn't matter because Team USA won. It was a very, very exciting game. I know that was probably the first time I've ever gotten up that, on a weekend, get up that early to be excited to watch something. I'm like, usually it takes me a little bit to get going, all that stuff, and you wake up early in the morning. Woke up a little bit before the game, was ready to go, watch the entire thing, didn't miss a thing, and then went on with my day. But it was great. And then the one other thing I wanted to talk about, Johnny Gaudreau, the honorary moment for him. Obviously, he was killed by a drunk driver a few years back, and he would have been on this team because he was obviously one of the best American players in the NHL. So he definitely would have been on this team. But they brought his son and his kids on the ice after they won. They had his jersey hung up in the locker room, so it meant something to the guys. They respected the game, obviously, and they respected him for what he did before and how he passed away, which is unfortunate. Obviously, that whole thing for everyone that knows about that. And it was just the fact that they made it about the family. Obviously, they flew in there to watch them in the semifinals, which they destroyed. And then they come in this game and they win this game as well. Then they bring, Johnny Jr. out there. He was turning his birthday. I believe he was 2 years old or something like that, 3 years old now, and bring him out there on the ice and his other kids as well, which is great. It was a great look from Team USA. So they did it with class as well, which is another great job from them. But Jack Hughes, overtime winner, golden goal, great job by Team USA. We just wanted to give them their props because I know we were mentioning, all the Olympic news as we went, and that was what we had to talk about. I was like, either way, we were going to talk about it, but the fact that they won, being a fellow American, felt nice to see them win. Then the NFL Combine, which I mentioned before, it starts this week, Thursday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But I think Saturday's in the afternoon. So anyone that's a big football guy, I'll probably watch a little bit of it. I just don't like to watch certain things that they do in that because I just think it's like eyewash, some of those drills. But for the most part, it's pretty good. You get to see potential guys that are going to play on your team over the course of a weekend in a drill setting. Because guys can be great in games, but they may not measure well. Some guys lie about height or hand size. Hand size for quarterbacks is a big thing. Things like that. And you want to see exactly what they can do, and then just drills in general, because some guys can be very, very talented, can't do drills very well, or guys can do drills very well and they may not be the most talented, but that doing those drills, running a 40-yard dash faster than people expect, and you may have a third or fourth round grade, that can bump you up a few spots and perhaps get you into the second round, or the vice versa, the other way around, which we've seen that happen all the time. A guy that runs an outstanding 40-yard dash gets a little bit bumped up in the draft, but then doesn't work out. That's the hype of the combine, which is always fun to see. Then other NFL news, we got Javonte Williams is back with the Cowboys. So the Cowboys made a few, a little bit of news here. Javonte Williams back with the Cowboys. So he had a great year for Dallas, running back, who they seemed like they were searching and trying to find one, and they finally have. Then George Pickens expected to receive the franchise tag. I think it's more so they want to keep him around, but they don't want to pay him all the money. So they do him the only option they can is just by franchising him, hopefully trying to keep him for this year, and then they'll just let him go. Because, you look at it, I know Jerry Jones is crazy and he'll do anything, but you can't have a sustainable winning roster when you have two wide receivers that are making over 40 million and your quarterback that makes over 50, near 60 million. You can't have that tied into three players on one side of the ball. It's just not going to work. So, you try to do what you can with Pickens because he was very valuable to Dallas this year. I mean, he was great, but look what they did. They had those two guys in Dak, and they didn't make the playoffs. So they can't say, okay, we're going to give Pickens a long-term deal and think this is going to work. It's not. That's why they're trying to do it the best they can and not just let him leave either. They can kind of, maybe he doesn't want to stay there because he's not getting a long-term deal. Okay, we'll trade you on the franchise tag, and then you have figured out with your new team. So it's better for Dallas to do it this way. Then the Falcons are tagging Kyle Pitts. So Kyle Pitts had a great year, probably his best year as a pro. Atlanta wanted to keep him around, new regime there. It doesn't matter. He could be a valuable tight end no matter what, especially for Michael Penix, who's probably going to be coming back in the starter unless Atlanta goes and does something crazy again. Then college basketball. There was a ton of wild games this weekend, but the fact that we had a 1 versus 4 matchup and a 2 versus 3 at the time was crazy. I didn't expect that to happen at all. You look at it earlier in the year, you're like, okay, probably a good matchup. Don't think it's going to be top 4 teams, back-to-back games on ESPN or whatever. I think it was ESPN. That's insane. That's insane that those two games happened, and they did. Duke with the nice – so the 3 and 4 teams did win the games. Duke was at number 4. They won. And then Arizona was at number 3, and they won. So Arizona beats Houston, and Duke beats Michigan. So that leads us into our new top 25, which I got it up right now. Number 1 is Duke after a big win. They beat Michigan, who was the number 1 team, so that's huge. Arizona, number 2. Michigan, number 3. So they don't fall far. Obviously, it was a great game, just didn't get it done. Iowa State at number 4. They have, a 10-4 record in the conference. So they're probably not even in first or second place in their conference, but they're a very good team. They're dangerous. I think they have what it takes to win it all. Then we have Houston at number 5. UConn, number 6, 15-2 in the Big East. One of those losses was St. John's, and then they lost to Creighton last week as well. Florida at number 7. So, the national champs didn't start out the hottest this year, but conference play, they turned it on. 12-2 in the SEC. That's pretty damn good because you know how good the SEC is. Then Purdue, 12-4 in the conference, 22-5 overall. Number 9, Gonzaga, 27-2. You don't read into the conference record very much. They're 15-1, though, in the conference. Illinois at number 10, 22-6 overall, 13-4 in the conference. Virginia, 24-3, 12-2 in the ACC. ACC has been very good this year. Nebraska, obviously, with the new coach, kind of changed philosophy because they're scoring upwards towards the top of the country. Then Nebraska's at number 12. So they've lost a few games, but they're still in there. Michigan State, number 13, 12-4 in the conference as well. 2 Big Ten teams back-to-back there. Then we got Kansas, who's been losing some games, has some issues with Peterson, their best player, who seems like people are trying to accuse him of just sitting out games, even if he feels a little bit of soreness, which it's tough. I mean, he's had a ton of different injuries this year, hasn't played a ton of minutes and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like you're a competitor. You're not going to just voluntarily sit out unless you can't. Like unless you can't go, that's the only way. I know it's different. It's just me personally with that. If I can't go, then obviously if I just can't do it, I can't do it. But if I'm feeling a little something, I'm going to try to push through it. I don't know if that's what Peterson's doing, but we'll see. Team it's been under heat since Saturday for that. And then St. John's at number 15, like I mentioned before. Texas Tech 10-4 in the Big 12, which is another great conference, 20-7 overall. Alabama 10-4, 20-7. If they just lock in a little more defensively, they can probably be undefeated right now. They score with the best of them, literally the best of them. They just don't have any threatening defense for teams to be worried about. Then we got UNC, North Carolina, of course, at number 18. So they're 9-5. So first team we've mentioned in the top 25 so far to have single-digit wins in the conference. Then BYU, another team, 8-6 in the Big 12. So they start out hot. They're 20-7 on the year. 6 of the losses they have are in conference. So they were great coming into the conference play. Arkansas, another dangerous team, very good. I think they're better than they are last year, to be honest with you. 20-7 on the year, 10-4 in the conference. Miami of Ohio still going strong, undefeated, 27-0, 14-0 in the MAC. Then we got Tennessee at 10-4 in the conference, 20-7 overall. St. Louis, they did lose first conference game. They are 25-2 overall, 13-1 in the conference. I know they had some fight as well, so they've been in the middle of some things recently. But I just want to get that to you. They did lose to Rhode Island. That was the game they were fighting with as well. They lost to Rhode Island on the road. Rhode Island was not even a good team. They just didn't show up that day, St. Louis, and they lost. Then Louisville, 9-5 in the conference, 20-7 overall. And then Vanderbilt. So Vanderbilt has lost a couple of games. They're still going to be there. The SEC respect in basketball, of course. And 8-6 in the conference, 21-6. They were undefeated coming into the conference, which shows – yeah, that can be a really good team. It's just you don't know. You're playing these teams multiple times, and they're very good. They're top 25 teams, just outside the top 25. Even there's some teams, if you go in as a road team, it's going to be very difficult. So, there's a lot of things that go into it. And the fact that Vandy started out so well kind of affords them to, you're going to lose some conference games, of course, but they're able to overcome that and not be in too much trouble. But that's what I wanted to come on, just talk about, quick 30 minutes or so. Just come on here, talk some ball as well, because tomorrow night, if you missed it in the beginning, I'll get you guys it now. Knicks versus Cavs, episode 100. We're gonna have our normal guys that we always have on the show. So pop in the stream, comment, whatever you guys want to do. Game will start at 7:30. Knicks versus Cavs. Two of the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference battling it out. Both teams playing very well. James Harden now a member of Cleveland as well, so that's a new aspect to this, because obviously the last time Knicks played the Cavs, James Harden was not a member of Cleveland, so that's another thing. But we'll have Crazy Dom, CT possibly, Biggie will be popping in and out, Corey, possibly Jet Specialist Ryan as well. So we got the main crew that we always have, looking to do some more. And in the coming weeks, I would like to do this. Have like a trivia type of show, because I know right now the sports, it's tough because the sports aren't a lot going on, especially football kind of hinders things. Yeah, football is in the news, but in terms of games, there's not much, obviously, because there's nothing for that. And in the next couple of weeks is gonna be a bit of a lull period. So I think we're gonna evaluate that and see, maybe we'll do maybe twice a month or once a month, do like a trivia night and just come on there, do an episode of having numerous different people come on here and try to battle it out to see who can name whatever or figure something out when we get to that. No pick'em this week as well. We'll take a break from that. We'll revisit the pick'em probably next week. We'll do some WBC picks, possibly maybe like top 2 teams who advance through each pool, because I know there's 3 or 4 different pools, so we can probably do that as well. But that's going to do it for episode 99. I know I always say thanks for tuning in, but obviously thanks for tuning in. But when you watch it, it's a little bit different when you pre-record and put it out. But this will be out for you guys, so you'll see it soon. I just want to thank everyone for supporting the show. Once again, have a great night, everybody.